crime have I committed?
No crimes have been committed at this point that we know of.
Are you?
Your gun stolen? I don't know.
Are you aware that? What's your badge number, officer?
I don't have a badge number. If you can find one on there, let me know.
What's your name?
My name is Officer Rollins.
Officer Rollins. Can you spell that for me, please, sir?
Yeah, I will in a minute.
What's your name, ma'am? Officer Young. What's your name, ma'am? Officer Hernandez. Is that correct?
Oh, well, glad you can read.
That was rude.
Watch him for a second.
Stay open. Am I being detained right now?
At the moment, yeah.
What crime have I committed?
No crimes have been committed at this point that we know of.
Are you?
Your gun stolen? I don't know.
Are you aware that I have to be committing a crime, or you have to have reasonable suspicion that I committed a crime?
That'd be great.
It'd be great if you would just let me go. I didn't realize that I was in Nazi Germany.
Okay.
Alright.
So any reason why you're walking around with an AR?
I'm not answering any more of your guys' questions.
Based on your behavior and your actions, you have caused alarm and disorder in the community.
There's definitely quite a few moving parts here, and there's a lot here that I think is important to talk about. As somebody who teaches military and law enforcement case law, constitutional law, and patrol tactics, I can tell you that there's a lot of nuance here that we need to cover. And quite frankly, some of this video is quite disturbing, if I'm being 100% honest with you. So the premise of this video clip appears to be that there is an individual that is open carrying an AR-15, a rifle, and he's being stopped and detained by law enforcement. And so how I would argue that this is a detainment and seizure is I would argue that pursuant to Torres v. Madrid 2021, that Supreme Court case precedents, the Supreme Court has affirmed that the application of physical force to the body of a person, regardless if that person is restrained or not, or subdued or not, is in fact a seizure. And so I would argue three independent arguments and examples that this person is in fact being seized. The first one is the fact that this person is surrounded by law enforcement. Officer's presence is a first threshold of the force continuum, physical force. The next one that I would argue is the fact that the officers have told him that he's not free to go, that he is being detained. So as again, we know from the force continuum, you have officer presence and then you have verbal commands. And then thirdly, you have a female officer that has a shotgun at the low ready, again, part of the force continuum. So to me, it's evidently clear that this person is in fact seized. So the next question we have to ask ourselves, is this a lawful seizure? Well, according to the female officer, she says that there's no crime. Because he asked her, do you have a reasonable articulable suspicion of a crime? She says, not at this time. So based upon her own admission, there is no criminal activity at this time. So we know in order to seize somebody, in order to detain somebody and compel them to give ID, we have to have what's called reasonable articulable suspicion. And that is pursuant to in accordance with Brown v. Texas, 1979. So from what I'm gathering here, it's very clear that this individual is carrying an AR-15. There's no crime that the officer that has and is using the highest threshold of force has. Therefore, based upon her own admission, this would be an unlawful seizure. Now again, with that being said, we don't have the totality of circumstances, again, pursuant to in accordance with Illinois v. Gates, 1983. So keep that in mind. But it's very clear in what I teach, in my own personal opinion, again, I can only speak for myself, I would never have a firearm at the low ready, threatening somebody with force when I didn't have reasonable suspicion. To me, it just is reckless on all accounts. But again, I don't have all the facts. I'm just telling you, from my personal opinion, I'm not taking my shotgun out, holding it at the low ready if I don't have reasonable suspicion, regardless of the incident. With that being said, I think there's two pieces of case law that are important for us to read, understand, and I will allow you to determine the applicability that you think they are to this video. The first one would be New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. This is 2022. The Supreme Court has affirmed that the Second and 14th Amendments protect an individual right to carry a firearm for self-defense inside and outside the home. And then also we have a Pennsylvania Supreme Court case law precedents. Again, this comes from the Supreme Court, Pennsylvania, Commonwealth v. Hicks, 2019, that states, unless a police officer has prior knowledge that a specific individual is not permitted to carry a concealed firearm, and absent articulable facts supporting reasonable suspicion that a firearm is being used or intended to be used for a criminal matter, there simply is no justification for the conclusion that mere possession of a firearm where it lawfully may be carried is alone suggestive of criminal activity. And so, again, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, I believe, rightfully, has again affirmed that the mere fact that somebody is carrying a concealed firearm or carrying a firearm does not automatically justify the conclusion that the possession of the firearm is illegal or is criminal. And so, again, those are the case laws that I want you guys to think about. But again, as just to recap, in order for law enforcement to detain and compel an individual to give identification, they have to have at least what's called reasonable articulable suspicion. And again, that is pursuant to in accordance with Brown v. Texas, 1979.